I'm going to start this off right here, right now. I'm not even going to sugarcoat whose side I'm on. I am on Chelley's side in this Huda situation, and I'm going to tell you right here, right now, and I'm going to elaborate even more later on. I stand by principle. So something that I would want done to, that I would not want done to me, I wouldn't do it to them, no matter the circumstance. No matter the circumstance. So I 100% see Chelley's side. We're going to get into it a little bit later. This is going to be a hot topic. It's already a hot topic on social media. A lot of people are painting Chelley out to be the villain in this situation when she's not. And I'm going to tell y'all why. But yeah, thumbs up the video, y'all. Thumbs up the video. Y'all been killing it. Let's try and get this one to 1,000 likes. Let's do it. Get in the comments as normal. Go ahead and subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 15K. Also, TikTok, go check it out. Go check it out. I'm going to put it right here. Go check that out. Go follow. Go subscribe. Go like. All that good stuff. And yeah, let's go, because we got a lot to talk about. A lot. All right, so we start off the episode with Cierra, Chelley, and Olandria. And they're sitting down talking, pretty much asking Olandria if she had the heads up with the decision that Taylor had made. And she's like, no, it just sucks because I tried my best. She didn't have the verbal sign from him, but the cues, the nonverbal cues were all there. I don't know how she didn't see it. But Cierra then says that, good, you don't have to waste your efforts anymore. Like, we're shocked because, like, 4 days changed all of that. No, it wasn't 4 days, Cierra. This man, Ben, didn't like her. And he just happened to have somebody who came in that actually liked him as well. And he could actually jump ship. But Cierra says that. Chelley says, fuck that man, but I'm going to support you regardless. And Olandria then claims that she wants to close that chapter, even though she doesn't know who else she'll explore in the villa, essentially because she put so much time into that man. And that's it. That's the problem, Olandria. You put too much time into something that you should not have been investing that much time in. You had somebody that came in here and actually wanted to get to know you, but you decided to go throw him away for the one that you could have seen was not reciprocating the same amount of energy you were putting into him. And that's your fault, though, Olandria. I can't stand that. I can't stand that it's your fault, but it is. It's your fault. But in her confessional, she states that she feels defeated, and starting all over again makes her sick to her stomach because essentially that's a lot of time that is gone now, and she has to now navigate it. But Cierra then asked her how it felt coming back into the house, and Chelley also then asked, like, what was his tea? So Olandria says, like, it felt wrong exploring it with Nick, and she then tells them that they did kiss. And she says it's safe to say that there was no spark there. She says she felt bad doing it as well, but you just never know until you do it, essentially. Cierra was very understanding in this moment. She said that she would have rather it been Olandria being the one to explore Nick than the rest of those other girls. She was very understanding about it. And the way that Olandria brought it to her, and even just looking at it too in the situation, I know a lot of people look at it as like, oh, well, she was doing her friend wrong. And I'm like, in the moment when I was watching it, I thought the same thing a little bit. But when you think about it in the guise of this game, what does she have? Like, what does she really have to do in that moment? But I wouldn't have done it. I'll just tell you that. I wouldn't have done it, but that's just what happened on the show. But they all hold hands and say how happy they are that the three of them are still there and still together. But Taylor and Clarke, he ends up asking her how she feels, and she was like, I feel great. I feel amazing. He then says that he doesn't ever want two girls in the villa liking him anymore, and said that he was nervous as hell, and he could have played it safe by choosing Olandria, but he chose his heart and listened to his heart by choosing Clarke. But he then says in his confessionals that he said that he knew that he was going to rock the villa with that vote. And he says he never wanted to hurt Olandria, but he had to follow his heart because this is his experience. And it's like, you never wanted to hurt Olandria, but you sat here and continued to lead her on. And when I say lead her on, not through his actions, but through your words, you knew you didn't like her. You should have literally said, I don't want to continue to pursue this. Because not only did you hurt her by leading her on, having her consistently think that you are feeling what she's feeling, even though you know that you aren't, you ruined her experience. And, well, I ain't going to say you completely did. Well, it's half and half, but you have a part in that as well. And then not only that, you are hurting her because you embarrassed her pretty much the entire time this entire season. Yes, she has a part in that because she should have saw the signs, but you are equally as accountable because you could have opened your mouth and told her this is not what it is. And you knew it wasn't what it was. You didn't need Clarke to come in here and tell you that because you already told Ace probably on day 3 or 4 that you was not seeing it for her. You was not. So we then get a scene of Ace and Shelley. They're sitting there kissing and talking about how much they missed each other, and he ends up asking her about Chris and whatever. And she starts laughing, saying they're so similar. But he then says like, "There's nobody like me in here." Like he's pretty much being Ace. But she then says like, "Yeah, we had a connection, but I realized it wasn't anything that I don't already have with you." Essentially, remember that she said that. But she then tells him that there's nobody like him. In her confessional, she says that she's nervous about how she's going to navigate with Ace because she still wants to explore Chris because he made an impact on her in Casa. And I'm like, Shelley, you just said that there was nothing that you had with Chris that would be different than what you have with Ace, essentially. So I'm like, why? And you made your decision coming in here to be with Ace. Why would you still want to explore Chris? I didn't understand Shelley with that. I don't understand it. But maybe she's trying to keep her options open. Maybe she's trying to finally put Ace on his back foot and have him on his toes. And if that's what she's doing, I'm not mad at her because he literally did that to her the entire season. But he then asked her if Chris is prepared to go to war, and she starts laughing. We then get a scene of Amaya and Zach. She wants to get to know him a little bit more. He starts telling her about his family life, his love for cats. She loves those as well. She's looking him in his eyes. He's barely making her eye contact. And that right there was like, okay, Every day with Zach, with their conversations, I pick up something different that I'm just like, I don't know. I don't see it for the long haul. She likes him. I hope she doesn't get too invested because I just don't. I feel like he's going to stray. That's just what I feel. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just what I feel. But Amaya says in her confessionals that she's happy that Austin found somebody that's more his speed. I took that as shade. And she says, I'm feeling good with Zach, who makes me feel like I'm the prize, which I'm glad she feels that way because she should feel that way. But she pulls him in for another kiss on the cheek. I'm like, I need her to stop doing that. I need him to start doing that with her. But we get Chris, Elan, and Bryan. They're upstairs, and Elan's talking about how much him and Nick look alike. But Nick and Cierra, they're down there at the dock. And he asked her, like, what have you been up to? And she was like, I feel like I want you to go first. And I'm like, yeah, let him go first. Let him tell you about that kiss. Don't you even mention it. Let him bring it up. But she's like, usually the girls come in here and they all want you. Like, what happened? Like, what happened? So he then mentions how Jaden was essentially his option, but there were no fireworks and nobody stood up for him. There were no fireworks because Jaden didn't want you. That's just really what it was. I feel like if Jaden wanted him, we might be having a different conversation. But she's like, no, he then mentions how Olandria pulled up whenever he was leaving, thinking that he was going home. And they went to the secret garden. He pulled her for a chat pretty much to let her know, like, let's see if there's something there. They kissed. There was nothing there to it. Like, they realized that there was nothing romantic. And it was mutual on both ends to just stay friends. And he then says, like, we knew that you were for me and Taylor was for her. Taylor's not for her. And you're not for Cierra if you're asking me. If you're asking me, I don't feel like Nick is the best fit for her. I feel like she should entertain Elan. I do. I feel like he probably is a better match for her because he's got a lot more going on besides physicality. Yes, you can tell Cierra is a lot more physically attracted to Nick. I feel like she is emotionally connected with him too. I feel like that's in large part due to the amount of time that they spent together. I feel like if Elan spent as much time with Cierra as she has with Nick, it might be a different story. Elan, I feel like they connect more on a mental level. I just do. And it's clear they got a physical connection. We'll get to it later on, though. But he ends up stating that Cierra then says that she didn't feel any type of way about them kissing him and Olandria. And she says she knew, like, essentially given the test, you would see it through. Like, if you were given a test, you would see it through to that point. And I'm glad that it was Olandria because that's somebody that I do trust and that's somebody that I love. But Nick is in his confessionals stating that he's relieved about her reaction and his heart rate was at peace now because he essentially was nervous about how she would react to it. And he now wants to spend quality time with Cierra. It's interesting how Nick now wants to spend all this time with her. We'll get to that later on, though. And shout out to whoever's probably going to comment it down below. I say we'll get to it later on all the time. I do. I got to build a story. I got to keep y'all entertained. But he then asked her, when did she know that Elan was not for her? She says we essentially got along very well. And she mentions how he ended up cutting her a C in them pancakes, like pretty much made a C-shaped pancake for her. And she thought it was cute. But she said, I just didn't feel the sparks, essentially. That's pretty much what she was stating, too. And she didn't have the desire to really jump his bones. And that's true, though. I'm glad she said that because it makes it, you can have a lot of things connected where it just checks off a lot of checks off of your list. A lot of boxes off your, why can I say that? It checks off a lot of boxes on your list with somebody. But if you don't have that physical, sexual connection, I don't think it's gonna work, because then you're gonna end up cheating on somebody. Because if you ain't getting it here, you're gonna get it somewhere else. But that's pretty much what she stated. He asked her if she wants to jump his bones, and she says yes all the time. He then says, like, I'm sick of the test, essentially, and he says that you are. He asked, I don't know what he said. Hold on, y'all, because I don't know what my notes. Oh, because when he said that he's sick of the test, she ends up asking him, are you over the test? And he was like, he is. And I'm like, yeah, he is, until a bombshell comes in that actually shows him attention. Like, let's keep it real. But they kiss. We get a scene of Iris and TJ up in soul ties. They're just happy to see each other because they didn't have a connection with the person that they were in there with. They start kissing. Who cares? Andreina and Bryan. I really was looking forward to this conversation because of that first look, because I wanted to see what led to this. He's feeling good about them. She feels good about them, but it's clear that she has a crush on Pepe. And she wants to get to know. She didn't tell him that essentially, but that's what we knew. She essentially said, coming in here, I just want to talk to every single guy. Essentially, she wants to still get those connections going and have the full Love Island experience. And she says she's attracted to a couple other guys. She didn't say this to him. I don't think she said that. She said it in her confessionals. But she said she's attracted to other guys and she wants to get to know those other people as well, which we know is Pepe, because she tells us in her confessionals that she has a crush on him and she's excited to talk to him more. We then get the scene with Chris and Huda. She's asking him how he feels about everything. He says it was hard seeing his boys go. She ends up asking him how she feel, or he ends up asking her how she feels. And she's like, I'm really happy that we're together. I was sitting here thinking, like, what if he ends up picking Chelley? And she then asked him how he feels about Chelley picking Ace. And he was like, I'm not down about it because I essentially knew what kind of connection they had, but I still want to get to know her, essentially. But she ends up stating, like, you can explore that. Like, if that's what you want to do, you can do your thing. Like, I won't be mad at you. Which tells me that she does not like him. When you think about how Huda acts, how she's acted this season, when she tells another guy that he can go ahead and get to know somebody else, you can go ahead and claim it. She don't really like him like that, because we know how she is when she really likes somebody. She never wants them to go talk to somebody else. So that's clear right here. And this is where I was sitting here thinking, after watching that first look, why certain things happen the way they did. But we'll get to that later. But she then says that I'm chill as fuck, like we're not boyfriend and girlfriend. Funny that she's saying that now. But she then asks him about his life, if he lives in a house or an apartment. He says he doesn't really have a place in LA because he's overseas for the most part. And whenever he's here for a month, he's with his family. But he pretty much tells her it doesn't bother him that she is a mom. She's relieved. She ends up asking if he wants kids. He says 5 max. She wants more kids, but she wants to be married before she has other ones. We get a scene of Austin and Jaden. They're having a very low substance conversation as normal. He asked for a kiss. It was a very, very awkward kiss. Like, you could tell she gave it to him, but you could tell she wasn't really feeling nothing. And I think it's funny, too, how he asked her a kiss, but never asked Chelley for a kiss. But he swore up and down that he was so gung-ho about Chelley. Everything makes sense. But everybody's winding down for the night. They're talking about how happy they are that how happy Nick was to see Cierra, and how happy they are for them. Essentially, they're giving them like the winner's edit. Like, that's what I'm getting from this. But TJ ends up stating that he didn't know what Taylor was going to do with that decision. But Huda then asked, talking to Olandria, how her and Taylor are doing. And Olandria's like, I mean, y'all know how I've been. Y'all know how I feel. You know the shit that we've overcome. I said, what shit have y'all overcome, Olandria? But Huda then tells Chelley and the girls how Chris had told her that he didn't care about her being a mom or whatever. And Chelley's like, yeah, I've been super communicative with him about how I'm going to move. And she tells them that she does still like him and she wants to explore that more. But obviously she feels the same way that she does about Ace. Huda's sitting there sighing and stuff. I'm like, is this strategic editing? Did she really have this reaction to this conversation? Or is it being edited? But then again, I believe that she did it. I feel like there's a reason for everything. I feel like Huda wants to, I'm gonna say it. I feel like what everybody was stating all season about Ace, I feel like Huda wants Ace too. I feel like both, we're gonna get to it later, but I feel like both of them have been dying for this moment. We'll get to it later though. But everybody heads off to bed. The next day, everybody's waking up. Amaya has that good energy per usual. The boys are making breakfast for the girls. Nick ends up telling Ace about Elan cutting that C in the pancake for Cierra, and of course, he does it. Very unoriginal, very corny. But he gets up there, Cierra laughs it off. The girls laugh as well. But Elan comes up there with his C-shaped pancake for Cierra, and she's not there. Like, she wasn't even there to get it. But Ace ends up asking Taylor if he's second guessing anything. Like the night before you made your decision, are you second guessing it? Taylor says, no, I'm not. I'm standing 10 toes on that decision. I said, this is the first time he's made a decision on his own. But Cierra, she then comes up and sees the pancake, but she's like, this is cute, but I'm full. But Taylor, he then brings Clarke her breakfast, and Olandria was watching. But Chris is over there working out. Cierra, Chelley, and Olandria, they're upstairs talking about how good he looks. But Chelley is pretty much going back and forth, pretty much telling them I'm having a hard time navigating it. And again, I'm like, why would you be navigating this when you chose Ace? I feel like her coming back to choose Ace meant that she doesn't want to be with Chris anymore. That's the way I looked at it. But Olandria then asked Cierra if she's planning on continuing to explore Elan, which I was happy in the moment because that first look made it look like she was moving in on Elan. And she asked for permission, and Cierra pretty much states, like, I don't know because I feel so strongly for Nick, but Nick hasn't told me that essentially that he wants to close off, so I'm not going to close off. Essentially, that's what she's stating. So she then asked Olandria, so what are you feeling? So Olandria then says, like, I feel drained. Like, the feelings they haven't disappeared overnight. But she says, essentially, men normally see her worth whenever she's gone, and whenever she's gone, she's gone. But in her confessional, she states that she essentially wants to be childish and petty and be crazy, but she got to save face. I said, please do not act crazy. Not over Taylor. Because A, he wouldn't care. B, you would look crazy because we already see how you look now. And if you crash out over him, somebody that to us, we clearly see he's made it very abundantly clear through his nonverbal cues that he does not like you. Even with his words too, when he told you last night that you was not likable. Or maybe that you weren't liked. There's certain things that it's just like, what? What? But she says that, and the girls give her words of encouragement. So we then move to Taylor pretty much telling Ace and Nick that he woke up happy and he's not mad about the decision that he had made. He thought that he was out of the love triangle, but it's clear he's still in it. I'm like, you haven't even talked to Olandria yet, so are you really still in it? But Ace then asks, like, how are you still in there? He says, because Olandria is still here. And then Ace ends up asking him, does it feel weird? And he's like, no, because I voted to keep her. I said, did you really? Because it definitely didn't seem like you was trying to keep her in the game when y'all was deliberating. But Nick then asked, which I guess, considering how he really don't have his own brain, I'm pretty sure they talked him into doing it. He didn't stand on business then. But Nick then asked, like, is there a chance that it could work out with Olandria? This man says maybe, but she might be cool off of me now. What do you mean maybe? You don't like her, and you just said that you stood 10 toes on your decision. You don't think that you made the wrong decision, so why would it be a maybe? That's why I can't stand Taylor. That's why I want him gone. The minute they open up the votes, the polls to vote for your favorite couple, y'all better vote for everybody but them, because I want him gone. I want him gone. I can't stand looking at him. Like, he irritates the fuck out of me. But he says that, and he then asks Nick, like, how do you feel about Elan being here? And Nick says, I mean, it's fine after the conversation that me and Cierra had. He said that then, but we'll see it later. But Elan, he's over there talking to Chris, saying that seeing Cierra and Nick together, it makes it hard essentially for him to explore her. But he knows that his actions have to align with what his desire is, which is to be with Cierra. And he was like, I'm going to continue to do what I got to do until she tells me otherwise. Ace is over there telling them that he's not pissed off about Chris being there. All he has to do is be himself and just step it up even more, which is true. But he was like, essentially, I know that if I wanted to close things off, I probably would be able to close it off with Chelley, but I just don't want to do that because he's here, which you shouldn't, because it would make you look like a punk, and it would make you look like you're just doing that to prevent her from being able to get to know other people. And he understood that. But in his confessional, he's talking about how he really sees life outside of the villa with Chelley. But Chris, he's over there telling Elan that he essentially fucks with Huda, but he's still going to pursue Chelley, even though she's still with Ace. So, again, backup plan. Huda is a backup plan. Everybody wants Chelley at this point. All right, so the next scene we get Iris and Cierra. And Sierra's pretty much telling her about how Nick and her went the full term with them the night before. And she's very graphic with it. If you're adult, you were able to put two and two together with what she was stating. Essentially, she stated like they went to going to work on each other, if you know what I'm saying. And they climaxed as well. That's what she's stating. We'll get to that in a minute. But Iris says apparently she heard it. Like, she heard everything that was going on. She heard the noises. Nick is over there telling the boys that it went from 20 to 40 seconds. So I say, y'all went to full term. So how did y'all go to full term? Y'all did all of that, pleasuring each other, climaxing. How did that happen in 40 seconds? How did that happen in 40 seconds? So I'm like, what's the truth? Who was lying? Nick then says it was subpar. I said, are you saying that was your performance or was it hers? That was interesting to me. Y'all tell me what y'all was feeling off of that, because that's what I got off of it. But Iris is telling Cierra about, well, Iris and Cierra, they're talking about how weird it is seeing Taylor being affectionate with somebody other than Olandria. I was like, are we missing something? Because did they see him being affectionate with her and just wasn't shown? But I choose to believe otherwise, because he stated that he was not physically attracted to her, so I can't see him actually being affectionate with her. But she then tells Iris about how she's encouraged Olandria to essentially explore other connections now that he's released her, and tells her about Olandria exploring Nick. Iris said, what? I was like, here we go. She's like, what do you mean explore? Like, did they make out in the bed or something? She was like, yeah, they made out in soul ties. Iris said, what? How do you feel? And it's like, Iris is being messy. She was being messy. Like, I get what she's stating, but like in the guise of this game, it's just like, or in this show, it's like, can you really be all the way mad in certain situations? But then again, I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite later on. But that's what she's stating. But then again, I'm not gonna sound like a hypocrite, because I'm gonna explain it in a minute. I was gonna say I'm gonna sound like one, but I'm not gonna sound like one, because my point for what I stated earlier is gonna be validated. The people that have a brain are gonna understand what I'm stating. But Cierra then says she doesn't feel some type of way about it, and she was like, "Am I crazy to not feel that way?" And Iris was like, "Yeah, that's fucking crazy." Cierra said, "Is it?" Iris says, like, that's stupid. It just doesn't make sense. And Sierra's like, you're making me second guess it now. And Iris is like, I'm not trying to make you do that, but your actions are literally making it seem like she should be second guessing it. But she then says, like, you essentially had sex with him, and your best friend and your guy that you had sex with decided they want to kiss and see what's there. And it's like, no, you've been inside of me. And I'm like, he was only inside of her for 20 seconds. Do you really count that? But I mean, I get what she's saying. But Cierra then says, like, when you put it that way, it makes me uncomfortable. And in her confessional, she's stating, I'm not going to lie, it is kind of weird. But Iris then says, like, I would never kiss my friend's man that I know has had sex with her already, too. But we then see Chris. I mean, I get what she's stating, though. I get what she's stating. In real life, you definitely wouldn't do that. It's like, it's sticky in this game. It's sticky in this particular show, in this particular experience. But I mean, I get what she's saying. But Chris and Chelley, they're having a conversation. Iris and Cierra, they're up there watching it because they're walking up to Soul Ties. And Chris ends up asking Chelley, like, how are you feeling? She was like, I mean, I feel overwhelmed. I did what I felt, and honestly, that's just what I did. And he reassures her, essentially, I'm not going nowhere. I'm still going to pursue you. And he was like, but I can't lie, seeing how you and Ace were in person. He says, how I see how y'all felt about each other, it makes me want to step it up. So he then says in his confessionals that he really likes her because she's the type of person that lifts your spirits, and you can tell she is. And he was like, essentially, I got to step it up. He knows he got to step it up. So Ace is in the sauna, and he's talking to Taylor, and he's telling him about how his process was going between Coco and Chelley. Shout out to Coco. Every time I hear Coco's name, I just think about that beautiful face. She got to come back for season 8. Got to. But he was talking him through his process, and he ends up stating like he had interest in Coco, but he felt like him and Chelley were stronger. So he then talks about the fact that she was going back and forth with him and Chris, and he said it's low-key frustrating. I said, how is it frustrating? Because you've done that the entire experience with Chelley. Like, every woman that walked in, you had to entertain them. You couldn't just be all about Chelley. So now that it's being done to you, you now have an issue. It's just funny. It's hilarious. And he then says to him, like, I'm essentially going to have to pull her to see why she's essentially apprehensive about where we are. And I'm like, why? Like, you know why she is, because of the way that you were. You haven't made her feel comfortable at all in this game with y'all's connection because you've always been testing it. So why would she not do the same with you? Like, What? Like, I'm like, you're confusing because it's like the way you was moving, that's why she's moving that way. We then move to Andreina and Olandria. They're talking about Bryan. And she essentially states, like, every time I talk to Bryan, I like him even more. But she also likes Pepe. And essentially, she likes his height. She says, like, when it comes to her and Bryan, she's looking at him at eye level. Where it is with Pepe, obviously, he's a little bit taller. So Olandria pretty much encourages her to go ahead and talk to him. And she's like, well, y'all can speak Spanish or whatever, and it'll be easier to understand each other. But I'm like, in Bryan Spanish too. But Olandria ends up stating she wonders how Bryan would feel about it. And Andreina's like, yeah, he said he was good, but Olandria makes a face like, yeah, he ain't cool about that. But Chelley and Ace, they're at the dock. And she's telling him essentially whenever we normally talk, we make eye contact. And right now, you're not really doing it. And he's like, yeah, I'm focused right now. She says, on what? He was like, about pretty much locking in, like trying to build a connection and keep you, because I know that you have a connection in Casa. Amor. That's pretty much what he's stating. But he then asked her if she regrets making the decision that she made to pick him. And she was like, no, not at all. But she throws it back at him and asks him, did you regret your decision? He says, no, I would pick you 1,000,000 times over again. But she then says that her mind was set, but Chris is still here, essentially. Like, that connection is not lost. It's still here. So she was like, it's not as strong as what we have, but I'm not going to completely close it off. And I'm happy she said that. Because Ace literally did the same shit with her. If she would have literally said, I'm going to close it off with him. And it's like, in this moment, that's when I was like, okay, I'm glad she's not doing that. Because earlier, I'm like, didn't you make your decision? But then again, I'm like, no, don't do that. Because he did that shit with you. So, yeah, continue to explore and put him on his toes. But she ends up stating, like, she also was thinking about, like, what life would look like on the outside with them. And he pretty much tells her, I would make you a priority. We get Taylor and Clarke. They're talking base level. Like, there's really nothing of substance really being talked about. They're talking about animals and stuff, and she's cracking up laughing. I'm like, what is so funny? But I'm like, I guess she really likes him. But Clarke says in her confessional she feels like she can finally let her guard down, knowing that he finally made a decision, and she can now see where his mind is at, and she essentially is top priority over Olandria, clearly. Now, this scene right here cracked me up. And I'm about to tell you why. Chelley and Ace, they're talking, and Chris comes up. I'm like, oh, he about to pull Chelley to talk. No, he pulls Ace. So when they walked away, I hollered. When I tell you I screamed laughing, because the way when Ace got down to actually walk, the height difference was so funny to me. It looked like Chris was walking with his little boy. Like, it was so hilarious. But Chris pulls him to talk on some real nigga shit. Like, this was some real nigga shit. He sat down and said, I wanted to talk to you on some man-to-man shit. Like, so it's not awkward in here. He said, this is not no dick swinging competition. Like, I ain't got no egotistical shit. I'm letting you know right now, I'm obviously interested in Chelley. I'm trying to explore it. But I told her, essentially, I'm going to keep it real with you. I want you to keep it real with me. And I want you to tell me where your head is at, essentially. Ace is sitting there looking like, you could tell Ace finally realizes he got another alpha in here. Ace essentially has been the only true alpha in the show. It's funny. It's just funny. Now he really got an alpha in his face. And you could tell, like, Ace, I don't think Ace was scared or lacking confidence, but he definitely knows that he finally got some competition in here. And you could tell he was respecting Chris. You could tell they probably ain't going to be friends. There probably ain't no animosity, but they look at each other like competition, especially Ace, on Ace's end. Chris, probably not so much. I don't think Chris is really too concerned about Ace. Even though I don't think Ace is truly too concerned about Chris, but I feel like he's a lot more concerned about Chris than he was anybody else. So Ace pretty much tells him, like, you cool, I ain't got no problems with you. I do obviously really care about Chelley, but I'll go to war with anybody in here. And I essentially have no issues with anybody that dap it up and they leave. Like I said, they're not gonna be friends. That's clear as day. They're not gonna be friends, but I don't think they're gonna be enemies per se. We'll see. But Andreina and Amaya, they're talking, and as they're talking, Amaya gets a text about the heart rate challenge. Everybody's excited. They start figuring out strategies. So you got Nick and Cierra. They're going over to the dock while Elan and Olandria, they're kind of setting up a game plan on what they want to do to get people's heart rates racing. Obviously, they're paired together because they're the only two singles. But Nick then tells Cierra that he would crash out if somebody did something, or at least if Elan did something with Cierra that was crazy. I said, Rich, coming from you. You don't like it now that you know you have some competition. He's just like Ace. It's like they was cool with doing all this shit in these challenges because they didn't have any competition in the house. Now that they have competition in the house, they don't like it. Because Cierra had an issue with you doing what you was doing with Iris and Andreina in the challenge, but you didn't have an issue with it. Now that you got some competition, now you got an issue. And Cierra says that, well, I didn't like the thought of you doing what you was doing in the challenges with other girls. But they agreed to not go crazy on anybody, but we'll see later on. But Olandria and Elan, they're in their confessionals, and Elan brings up the strategy to go and take the person that pretty much left them and bring them down to really show them what they was missing. I was happy that they showed that Elan was the one that suggested this, because when I saw that first look, I was getting mad. I was like, Olandria, I know you did not pull this man willingly, but we'll get to it. But the heart rate on fire challenge, what's it called? The hearts on fire. Amaya said, embrace your inner slutty self in a classy way. They definitely embraced their slutty selves. We'll get to it. This cast is horny. First up, we got TJ and Iris. They are very much a tease. They were teasing everybody. TJ was kind of like pulling the girls into about to kiss them and then teases it. Iris was over there licking people. They pulled Cierra and Nick down to the ground to do their extra work. They were straddling them, licking them, getting it done. Next, Amaya and Zach. Amaya, this is my winner. She's my winner. She comes out crawling in her nurse outfit. He's in the construction worker fit. He goes over there and tongues Jaden down. Tongues her down, and she was giving it back to him. Unlike she did with Austin, she had that tongue out. She was feeling it. But Amaya had me weak, yo. Her comments. She starts patting her, you know what, talking about somebody got some pancakes for you. She had me weak. She got over there and was tonguing Cierra down. Cierra is a prized possession. I'm going to tell you that right now. Cierra, the men and the women, equally wanted them a taste of Cierra. And Cierra got a lot of love. But she ends up stating that Amaya says she's coming back for more when it comes to Cierra because she's an amazing kisser. It's clear she is. But Amaya then gives Ace a dance, and he was enjoying it. I was like, oh, interesting. We'll get to them later on, though, because we're going to get to it. Zach ends up getting him some with Olandria, which was interesting because we all know he also was interested in Olandria over there in Casa Amor, so that was interesting. They killed theirs. I enjoyed theirs. Theirs was the first one so far that I was like, yes, I like. TJ and Iris, theirs was like, okay, but I enjoyed these twos. Next was Andreina and Bryan. When she walked out, I said, whose body is that? And then I was like, oh, yeah, Andreina. It's got to be her. But she's a vixen. Like, she knows she bad. Taylor looked scared when she came to him because, I mean, it's clear he just can't handle all that woman. But Huda was liking Bryan. Bryan was all up in her. She was enjoying it. Andreina got to work on Pepe. We all know she had a crush and she was testing it. And she was giving it to him and he was reciprocating it. Definitely was. Bryan was watching like, oh, shit, okay. I got some work to do. Pepe enjoyed it. He talked about it in his confessional. They killed theirs as well. Austin and Jaden, Rhythmless Nation. I was like, this is the dude that claimed he got the most bodies in the house. He was the only one that did not look like he knew what he was doing. But Jaden was kissing Cierra. Like I said, everybody loved him some Cierra. Chelley and Ace. If I'm going to think about, yeah, I feel like Chelley and Ace killed it. Theirs was the best one. Chelley looked good. Ace comes out there looking like a Flintstone. Chelley and Chris. Work. She got to work. He was feeling it. Speechless. He was speechless. Who wouldn't be? Chelley and Cierra, they went at it again. She pulled the snake move and then got on Cierra and was tonguing. Right. Right. Cierra loves her some Chelley. She says she's the best kisser. Ace and Iris, they was over there tonguing each other down. Chelley went back to Chris, dropped the splits, and got back to him. He said, I'm glad she came back because the first one was not long enough. I was like, they over here cutting up. Ace got his finally with Andreina. We know he's been dying to get him some Andreina. He went to work on her. But the one that was the craziest, he went over there to Amaya and was tonguing her down. And Amaya said exactly what I was thinking. Amaya got in her confession and said, there's no boundaries now, huh? When I tell you I died laughing, Amaya is hilarious, yo. She is my winner. She is so funny. She is so funny. But Ace got the tonguing down Clarke. And Taylor's talking about something. That's enough. He didn't say all that when Olandria was getting kissed in all them challenges, which is telling. But Chelley and Ace, they then pull Amaya as their person to bring down to really get to work and get that heart rate up. This right here was so it was so funny. They gave her a 3-way kiss. And when I tell you they got to work on her to the point whenever she got up, them heels, they got her out of her heels. And them things was like, it was so funny. Me and my sister was in here yelling, y'all. That shit was so funny. They killed theirs. Killed it. Huda and Chris, they go up next. She's a housekeeper and he's in a chef fit. Huda, I already knew she was going to act a fool. She was bouncing that thing on Bryan. Chris then picked up Cierra. He put Chelley on that heart. Huda put Ace on that heart. We're about to get into it. She then goes back to Chris, who was sitting down, and she gets into the headstand and starts making that ass clap and shake. This right here, I said, Huda definitely had to have been a stripper. She had to have been. She knows what she's doing. But Chris got Chelley blindfolded. She's blindfolded while he's on top of her, kissing her on the ground. Huda got Ace over there. Ace is literally holding her neck. And they are going to work, tonguing each other down. Down. I ain't seen this much passion between... This one right here might take the cake. This was the most... I was like, oh. Everything's making sense now. It all made sense. Whenever she got the bouncing at... She was bouncing it, grinding. And this was where the bad part happened. Because Chris was pulling Chelley up now. And that blindfold is off. And she's seeing what's happening. That was a lot. That was too much. And when she said that was too much, it was too much. Because she already had his heart rate up. Like, y'all was going a little bit too... It was like, okay, yeah, I can see why Chelley would be mad. Because, yes, it's a challenge, but we're talking about Huda. And this is where I'm about to explain it all. Because everybody was looking like, And if everybody else is looking like that, considering how everybody else was doing this stuff in the challenge, you should pay attention to that. You should pay attention to that. And I think the reason why everybody was looking like that is the same way that I was thinking. Because we're talking about Huda. And yes, it's like, yes, she can do this in a challenge. But back to what I said, principles, stuff that I abide by and I value, I would never do it to somebody else. We all saw how Huda acted when any bombshell or anybody else did anything with Jeremiah in them challenges. She tripped the fuck out. So when you tripping out when somebody else does that shit to you and somebody that you're dealing with, you should never do it to them. Period. So when you do it, it negates everything that you did and it makes you start looking shady, which is exactly what Chelley did. Chelley started looking at her like, okay, I see who you are, bitch. I see who you are. And Chelley's not wrong. I don't see her being wrong. People want to say, oh, well, she was doing what she was doing with Chris in the challenge. Chelley and Huda are friends. Chris and Ace are not friends. That's the difference. That is the difference. So when you come on here having values and you want people to not do certain things to your dude, you should never do it to theirs. And that's where it all lies. Chelley is not wrong. Argue with your mom if you feel otherwise. That's how I feel. But Ace is just as bad, though. Because this right here proved that Ace wanted Huda all along. Because I ain't never seen him so excited. Like, the way he got up, when they went back to sit back down, he cheesing like a motherfucker. Like, cheesing. Couldn't even hide it. He was waiting on that shit. Taylor sitting over there making faces too. I'm like, so what have y'all been talking about? Has Ace told you that he secretly wanted Huda? Because he was over there doing the most. Like, giddy as a motherfucker. And Chelley looks over at Ace and was like, oh, is your heart or is something else jumping? But Pepe was like, you was doing a lot. Pepe said that was a lot more than a challenge. Because Ace was like, this is just a challenge. This is just a challenge. Pepe said it looked like a lot more than a challenge. I said, that's very telling. Because I'm not tripping. Because I see it too. But Huda's sitting there asking Chelley, are you mad at me? What do you think? Chelley said, girl, I'll talk to you later. And that's where I'm like, if you even have to ask, you already know the answer. And you know if she did that shit to Jeremiah, your ass would have been hot as fish grease. So that's where it's like, fuck Huda in that. Like, I don't care what nobody say. I am on Chelley's side. I don't care what y'all say. And it's funny how at the end, they pulled them victim tears out for Huda. And it's like, y'all want to make the black girl the villain. Like, let's keep it real. Like, Chelley's not wrong for that. Y'all are so gung-ho on trying to give Huda a whole redemption story and a redemption arc. But y'all so quick to make certain people a villain. Y'all tried to make Jeremiah the villain. Now you're trying to make Chelley the villain. Y'all tried to make Olandria the villain. Like, Let's get the villain off of the show. But Pepe and Gracyn, they go up. Pepe was tonguing Cierra down. Amaya got her something from Pepe. She was excited. Pepe ends up licking Andreina down, and she probably felt it in places that she wanted to feel it. But Nick and Cierra, they get up there. They're in a cowboy and cowgirl fit. Nick ends up pulling Iris down, and with him and Cierra, and they got to work, menage a trois type of deal. And Cierra ends up giving Elan a lap dance. It was a nice one too. And Nick was over there licking and sucking Olandria's toes, and she was shook. But Nick ends up pulling Chelley down, and Cierra says Shelley's the best kisser in his house, and he has not been able to experience her, and they got to work with Chelley. Got to work. But Olandria and Elan, they're up next. Olandria went crazy. That body is insane. It's insane, and she knows she looked good. She was bouncing that thing on TJ. TJ enjoyed it. She shook that ass in Bryan's face, stuck his head in between her cheeks. Elan was tonguing Chelley down while Olandria was hitting Austin from the back. If he requested that, keeping it moving. Olandria, her and Andreina was tonguing each other down. Spicy. Olandria then moves to pulling Taylor. Pulling Taylor down as her and Elan had planned. He goes and pulls Cierra. Nick is very bothered. Talking about something. Elan tried to big dick me and I don't fuck with him. Yeah, he did big dick you and it seems like it was successful because you was mad as fuck. Mad as fuck. But Olandria, she's down there tonguing down Taylor and bouncing it on him. And he ain't even grabbing her ass. I'm like, nigga, like, you really don't like her. Like, you really don't like her. Like, that was weird to me. I'm like, you got a woman right there. And he was like this, barely on the hips. But Elan, he got to work on Cierra. Got to work on her. That's why Nick was mad. Because he gave Cierra the business. But Nick is sitting there talking about there's lines in the challenge, essentially, that shouldn't be crossed. But you've done it. It's like, it's just so funny. It only applies now that you got competition. But Nick then says that he knows how Cierra and him are. Talking about Elan, he knows how we are. And it just makes me mad. I'm like, be mad. Be mad, because you didn't care whenever it was Cierra on the other end. But Taylor and Clarke, they go up there next. He only kissed Olandria on her neck, proving that he really don't like her. But Clarke tongues down Cierra. She was enjoying it. Taylor being a goofball, like being a goofball completely. He was pecking Andreina, didn't really kiss her. But they pulled Jaden down and Austin down. I said, okay, interesting. He went to work on her. But we're going to get to the results. Iris's was raised by Nick. That doesn't shock me. Amaya's was raised by Pepe. That doesn't shock me. Andreina's was raised by Pepe. Doesn't shock me. Jaden's was raised by Nick. That was shocking. That was shocking to me. I don't know who I thought would raise her heart rate, but considering the fact that she didn't choose him and it was clear to me that there was no real chemistry, I was shocked by that. Shelley's was raised by Chris. No shock there. Huda's was raised by Elan's. I was shocked. I thought hers would have been Ace. Honestly. Gracyn's was raised by Nick. I don't really care. Cierra's was raised by Elan. Knew that was coming. Nick was not happy about it. Olandria's was raised by Chris. I was happy that it wasn't Taylor. Clarke's was by Ace. That wasn't shocking to me. The girls' results for the guys. TJ's was by Gracyn. Zach's was by Cierra. No shock. Bryan's was by Cierra. Sierra's a hot commodity. Austin's was by Amaya, which was interesting. Chris's was by Chelley. No shock there. Pepe's was by Andreina. I know Andreina was excited. She probably like, let me get to work now that I know. Nick's was by Iris. No shock there. Elan's was by Cierra. No shock there. Nick was pissed. Taylor's was by Olandria. I was like, that's probably nerves. That's what it was. He don't know what to do with all that woman. Like, he was probably nervous as fuck. But Ace's was by Huda. No shock there at all. I was like, drama. Chelley is pissed. And she's like, I can't even crack a smile at this point. I can't even be fake at this point. Like, you were supposed to be my girl, essentially, and that's some crazy ass shit that you did. And she ends up saying, like, you did not have to do all of that. And she didn't have to do all of that. That's what y'all failing to realize. She did the most because she wanted to do that. She wanted to do that. And she been dying to do that. I would not let y'all sit here and try and make Chelley out to be the one in the wrong. Like, it's principle. principle. Like, when you think about what Huda does when other people did that shit with Jeremiah, I can't take Huda's side in this. I can't. If Huda didn't act the way that she did in those challenges, I wouldn't see an issue with it, which is what Chelley is stating, and she's going to state it in a minute. But Cierra and Nick, they won overall. But Chelley, Cierra, and Olandria, they're downstairs talking while Huda's upstairs with Amaya and Andreina. So Huda's telling them that Chelley's mad as fuck at her because she could tell by her demeanor. So she ends up stating, like, I did the same thing with everybody else. No, you didn't. You did the most with Ace. Yes, you was definitely your flirty self and your seductive self with everybody else, but you did the most with Ace. Yes, you was bouncing it on them, but you was doing a lot with Ace. A lot. And like what Chelley says, the way you was acting with Ace and you claimed that you her best friend, and the way you would act, I keep repeating myself, but it's the truth. That's what it is. But she says it wasn't personal. It was personal. You wanted to do that. Let's keep it real. But Huda then says everybody acts like it's a problem. Everybody says like it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But whenever I finally act up in a challenge, which you've been acting up in challenges. Let's not act like you haven't. You have every time, which is why it always blew my mind how you tripped out when Jeremiah did, because you always was acting out in them challenges. You wasn't wrong for doing it, but you always made it seem like Jeremiah was wrong when he entertained somebody else doing it with him. That's my issue with Huda. It's like y'all got to start holding her accountable for the shit that she holds everybody else accountable for. But she says like everybody acting like it's a problem. But Chelley's down there telling the girls like, I just don't know if I'm tripping or not. And Cierra's like, don't even say it. Like, I know what you about to say and you're not tripping. They're basically validating what I'm stating and what she's stating. But Cierra says like, out of everybody, why Ace? Chelley says, I'm just annoyed because it's like there's no level of respect, especially by the way that she moves and she acts when people came with Jeremiah. Where's the lie? She was like, you didn't return the favor and you sitting here stating that you feel wrong. She says that she doesn't feel wrong. What did I say? She says that she doesn't feel like she's wrong for feeling that way. Yeah, Chelley said, I don't feel like I'm wrong for feeling that way. You're not. But Chelley says pretty much like Huda moves slick, trying to act like she's a girl's girl when she's not. I've been saying that all season. But Huda's up there trying to act like she a victim, and she ends up stating that she wasn't expecting Chelley to be mad. Why would you not expect her to be mad when you down there borderline fucking her dude with clothes on? You are hunching him down, tonguing him down. You basically fucked him with clothes on. Like, let's keep it all the way a buck. That's literally what it was. And I'm almost positive they didn't show us everything that was happening. The way everybody else's reactions were, you got to look at how their reactions were. That tells you it was a lie. It was too much. But she smiles, which tells me she don't feel bad. She's smiling, sitting there saying what was the icing on the cake was that Ace, his heart rate went up the most. You can tell that's what she wanted. She really wanted Ace's heart rate to go up. And she's happy and she's proud about it. So that's y'all's girl's girl that y'all want to go up for. But they tell her essentially you need to go talk to Chelley. So Olandria ends up asking like who raised Ace's heart rate, and they was like it was Huda. And they was like, oh shit. But Andreina comes down and tells them about the conversation she just had with Huda. And Andreina says like challenges are supposed to be for fun, but also it's a moment for you to really express and show who you might be interested in. What have I just said the entire recap? She wanted to do that with Ace and she took advantage of it to see if there's something that could possibly grow from that. Ace wanted it. He been dying for it. It proves everything though. Ace was so gung-ho. Shout out to Ivy Chili. He been stating it the whole time. Ace wanted Jeremiah out of the house because he wanted Huda. Like you think about it. You think about the trail of everything that's happened. He's wanted Huda. A lot of people have been saying it online too, but I believe it now more than anything. But Chelley then says like, that's fine and whatever, but do it with everybody else. But if you want to call me your girl, stand on that shit. Be on that shit. Be about that shit. Because if I was doing that with your dude, essentially you'd been pissed off at me. So basically she's stating, keep that same energy that you want other people to have with you with everybody else, essentially. And she's not lying. But Huda's up there crying, and we didn't get a cliffhanger, or we didn't get a preview for tomorrow. I'm almost positive tomorrow's going to be a shit show, but I'm here for it. Whether y'all agree with me or not, please thumbs up the video. Drop a comment down below. Subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 15K. Go follow my TikTok. I'm trying to run them numbers up over there. Let's try and get me to 10K over there. So go over there. I'm about to post a little snippet over there. But yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.